All right, we're back again for the second of at least the third video. Um, this, as you see in the title, gentrification and mental illness. Now, when you look at it, just okay, this is kind of obvious. It's going to be stressful, but like I said yesterday, it's good to have numbers. It's good to, sometimes people can see numbers and get a different story, different perspectives, and it may go towards getting funding or getting things that can fight gentrification done, whether it's helping nonprofits fight gentrification, helping people come together. Numbers can be explained a lot easier. So first I'm going to say the study is in the link, but it admits that this is not a perfect study. It admits that there can be some faults or some things that may be wrong in the study, which makes it a good study because it means it's not really biased. And if you want to know about biased studies, again, watch the second most recent video. Now, the video I did last night on the 5G wireless, if you want to know about the dangers of biased studies and how they are suppressing information on Wi-Fi radiation and how it's harmful to us and why they want to suppress that information in the first place. Now, this study was done in New York City from 2006, and they basically found that people who were displaced in the neighborhood that was being gentrified, if they move to an area that is not being gentrified, they tend to have more hospital visits, more emergency visits, more mental health related visits. And there's during Hurricane Katrina, this was an issue. And you can say, yes, that's a natural disaster, but anytime your foundation and different things like that have been uprooted from you, your homes, where you live, and family, ancestry, different things like that, just sentiment, things that you're sentimental about, reminiscing about growing up, different things like that. So anytime that that's gone, that's going to be terrible no matter what happens. But this shows that what I like this most about this study is that it kind of gives you an analysis in a way of how white supremacy affects you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not just economically, on how if we like to think, oh, well, we have to just get our money and lace ourselves up by the bootstraps and everything will be okay. No, white supremacy, it affects us mentally and psychologically, as is evident in this study on how gentrification and displacement gives us more hospital visits, gives us mental issues, emergency visits. So the person, it's called root shock. This lady who came up with this term for when you're basically when you're displaced, I guess, like I said a few minutes ago, when the rug is swept up under you, she coined the term root shock. And for the metaphysical people out there, I think this is a very interesting term because, as you know, the root chakra is in charge of survival, security, and different things like that. So if you want to get metaphysical about it, you can say that gentrification and being displaced is a direct attack on your root chakra. It's a direct attack on your security, on your well-being, on your survival mechanisms, different things like that. So it is a very long study. I'm just giving you my summary of the study if you want to read it, though, because they have the different boroughs in the link. Like they think it was Brooklyn, couple neighborhoods in Brooklyn, or a couple areas in Brooklyn, Harlem, and I think 2 parts of Manhattan or something like that. I can't, but you can click on the link. It has the pictures and the map of it. So this is, to me, this is like a need for the mental health community. Maybe they can come in because, dealing with living in the inner city and trauma, violence, police brutality, working day-to-days, job issues, family issues, violence, black on black crime. You might hate that word. I'm just, making a long story short. Whatever it is, there's families affected by killing of black people by black people, if you want to say that. That has an effect. All of these things have an effect on our psychological and emotional well-being. And I think because it says this study is the first to directly quantify the relationship of residential displacement on health. We did a video on this young lady. She had been staying somewhere. It was like in the suburbs. And we went to her place and interviewed her. And she was on time for her rent since she had lived there for like a year or so. And they would not renew her lease. But the issue was she had problems with getting maintenance done. And they deliberately, and she had the pictures to back it up, they deliberately didn't fix things, or they half-ass kind of fixed them, different things like that. And she just chose to move. Now, you can say that's kind of a passive-aggressive, indirect way to displace somebody, but you can say that's a form of displacement. It might not be raising rent and you know what I mean, raising taxes or different things like that of the property, but it's still a form of displacement, of neglect. So there's different ways to look at how this is done. And she wasn't in a neighborhood that was being gentrified. She was in a probably 99% white neighborhood. But, if a person doesn't want to live in a black community, they have that right. It's a free country. They shouldn't have to, be subject to those kinds of things. So this study is very interesting. More emergency visits, more mental health visits, because when your root chakra is disturbed, just think if you're homeless and you feel like you don't feel value, you don't feel like you have any worth as far as being able to provide for yourselves. Like that people come to this country to provide for themselves. From all over the world, all kinds of rich or poor countries. So when you're displaced, it's like they're displacing a part of yourself from you. It's like they're displacing your confidence. And that does lead to mental health issues. It does lead to the splitting up of families. And when when your childhood memories and different things like that are taken away from you due to gentrification, as this study shows, it's gonna make you it can make you mentally ill, it can make you depressed. So that's all I got for this video. Next, I'm gonna speak on Stephen Clark, on his comments about black women. I'm gonna give my opinion on that issue. So stay tuned.